Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio. I'm here with my friend and co-author, Nancy Saxton-Lopez. This is a program that we do every Thursday from 6 p.m. Eastern till about 6:30. And it is the 2.0 of our book, Pet Loss Companion, Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups. And this program allows us to have a dialogue with you and also to have some really interesting and we hope very helpful, and we find that they're very helpful guests. And today what we're going to do is read a note from a listener. And we encourage you to send us your stories. And you can reach me at kenddv@gmail.com. You can reach Nancy at nsaxtonlopez at csmpc.com. Please know that all the information I'm skimming through in the beginning is in the description that accompanies either the live broadcast or a replay. And thank you for being with us, whichever way you might be doing so. And you can support us in a number of ways. Also, I just want to mention that this program is a friend of Dakin Humane Society in Springfield, Massachusetts, and Dakin sponsors a number of different resources for people like us who have animal family members. One of the resources they sponsor is a meeting, a pet loss support meeting over Zoom that I facilitate once a month. It's usually on the second Tuesday of the month. Actually, this month, and this month only, it is on the third Tuesday of the month. It's the 18th because I had to bump it for a meeting that it would be impossible for me to reschedule. So it's this. It's not the 11th. It's the 18th, and you can join through the RSVP link that you'll find in the description. And you can Zoom from anywhere in the world, and in fact, people do. And also, there is no cost. Just want to make sure that's clear. Please consider subscribing to our broadcast, our YouTube, on YouTube, if you find this program valuable, because that affects the algorithm in a way that allows other people to find the program quickly. Also, if you can leave a thumbs up or leave a brief comment, that does the same. It affects the algorithm in a way that makes the program more visible and accessible to those who may benefit. And finally, we'd like you to know that we have an affiliate relationship with a company called Bereave. Bereave makes these very nicely crafted granite plaques that you could place in a memorial garden or a gravesite or maybe inside where you keep mementos of your beloved animal companion. And if you buy the plaque through the link in our description, we get a little bit of support back from Bereave as well. So a little bit of the cost comes back to us. And so here's the plaque that Nancy is showing. It really is substantial.
It's really beautiful. Very heavy.
It is. It's really something.
Very artistically.
So Nancy, want to get us started for this evening?
Yeah. We have a story tonight from Rachel about her beautiful cat, Nyla. It's long, so Ken and I are going to share it, and then we'll talk. Dear Nancy and Ken, I have found your podcast after losing our beloved cat, Nala, on the 12th of January, 2025. Thank you so much for the work you are doing. Listening to other people who are struggling definitely helps to feel less alone in grief. I really wanted to say that that's important because we get this, right, Ken, all the time when people write in. I'm so grateful to have found your podcast. You can share my story. Our perfect Nala was just 5 years old. She came into our lives unexpectedly when she approached my husband at a petrol station, meowing desperately and standing up on her hind legs. She needed help, and she was telling him. He sent me a video of her, and I fell in love. I waited at the door while he drove home with her. It was only 5 to 10 minutes from our house at the time. I'll never forget her first time making biscuits, kneading on a blanket. She was so small. I remember wondering how we got so lucky that this perfect little kitten just came into our lives. We don't know if she was born as a stray or if she was abandoned. The vets told us she was about 3 to 4 months old and had a swollen stomach full of worms. Oh dear. We were so glad that she was home with us, and we wanted to make her feel safe and loved. She had our hearts instantly. There was an adjustment period as we have a Westie, who at the time was 13, so we needed to slowly get them used to each other. It was tough, but we really wanted to make it work, and eventually it did. If it didn't work, I was adamant that whoever would adopt her would have to be someone I knew so I could visit her. Nala was with us every day while we lived and worked, making us smile and laugh and giving us so much love. She brought a playfulness into our lives that we didn't know we needed. We kept her in for maybe a month to adjust her to her new home, but it was clear how desperately she always wanted to go out. She was an explorer. While I was nervous to let her, it was quite clear that she needed her time to explore and let her energy out. She loved being outside and spent a lot of time coming and going from the back of the house. After a year with us, our neighbor got a cat who chased her a lot, and she never felt as comfortable in the back garden anymore as he would hide in there and chase her. I was always so sad for her as she loved lying out in the sun and sleeping under the ivy. I once saw him chase her right across the road, so I was always worried for her safety. She was always looking out for him. We also had neighbors down the other way who had their children chase her if she was near, as they had a blind cat that they let outside. She was distraught when we didn't let her out. We had to keep her in a few times when she was sick or even when it was late in the evening. We couldn't have a catio as it wasn't our own home, but neither of us believed that she would really have been happy in one. I know it's controversial, and I don't know what a catio is. Kind of maybe you do.
I think it's
No.
an enclosed place for a cat to go outside,
Okay.
like totally enclosed.
I know it's controversial, and people give a lot of grief online to people who let their cats out. But she has such strong natural instincts for exploring and hunting and had such a curiosity for life. We tried toys, etc., but she got bored of them quite quickly. She did love her catnip, though, which we would give her as a treat sometimes. But of course, now my guilt says, maybe we should have tried to train her more to become an indoor cat. Or could I have trained her about the road? Should I have tried to deter her from going up the drive? I should have kept her safe. That's all I ever wanted to do. Myself and my husband have been dreaming and planning to buy a home in the countryside for years, since before Nala came into our lives. She was always at the top of my mind when deciding if a house or area seemed safe for her. In March of 2024, a house came along and I instantly knew it was the one. I had a feeling. A cottage on half an acre surrounded by beautiful golden wheat fields in the summer with a bit of a distance from the road as it has a little driveway. We were imagining her jumping through the long golden fields in the summer and couldn't wait for her to see them. When we talked about how excited we were, we also talked about how excited we were for Nala to experience it all and to live a safer life. We had been living in a residential estate next to a dual carriageway that was just over a high wall. Some neighbors and delivery drivers would drive quite fast down the road, even though it was a cul-de-sac. She was always a little on edge, coming and going from the house, but we just thought it was part of her slightly wilder nature. In September, we moved into our new home. So excited to bring her with us, along with our beautiful 17-year-old Westie. We kept her in for 2 weeks, as it says you should online. Again, when the time came to let her out, I was nervous, but more so that she would get lost or try to find her way back to the old home. I worried that she would go too far and forget how to get back to the new house. When we did let her out, she didn't go too far at all. The garden has so many birds and so much nature that I think there was so much for her to enjoy and explore close to home. She was less on edge and also seemed more relaxed here. She used to have a little bald patch between her eyes and ears that she would scratch. We used to have to put cream on it for her, but that issue was never a problem since we moved here. I don't know if it was down to stress. We never really got to experience life outside with her before we moved a house other than sitting in the garden with her. We have half an acre here, and she would come out and watch the sunrise with us on the nice mornings. I would do a little gesture to her with my hand, and she would follow me down to the end of the garden. When it was time to go back up towards the house, I would say, "Come on, Nala," and she would run as fast as she could all the way back up. It made me so happy to see her so happy and truly brightened my day. It would give me the biggest smile. She was a little light in my life. I adored her. She was so curious, wanting to smell anything that you might have to see what it was. She was an incredible hunter, always bringing us presents. Every morning, she would run up the stairs to greet me, her little legs going as fast as they could. She even joined us in our Westie, following us on a few walks around our old block before we moved. She made life better, my little family.
Am I muted? Yeah, I was muted. I'm sorry. On January 12th, myself and my husband were in the garden. I have been so happy in our new home and so excited about life. I probably haven't ever been as happy as I was. I was at the end of the garden planting some flowers, and Nala came down to me meowing. She wanted to go inside for food. I brought her to feed her and had a quick bit of food myself. She cuddled into her little basket, which is on the windowsill. As I was going back out, the window was closed, and I was going to leave it closed, but something in me said, no, open it, so she can come in and out to us. I knew we would be out there for hours. That moment has repeated in my mind countless times. It wasn't unusual that we would have the window open during the day, though. It was at the end of the garden. I was at the end of the garden, and my husband was about halfway down. I had my AirPods in, listening to music, and I was facing the end of the garden. I would say no more than half an hour after I went back outside, I heard my husband say my name. I turned around, taking my AirPods out to see him holding Nala in his arms. His face had lost all color. I could see she wasn't right. I said, "What's wrong with her?" He said, "She's gone. She was hit by a car." He came over to me, and I took her in my arms, not able to comprehend what had happened. She had just been in her basket a few minutes ago and looked like she was going to sleep. I just kept saying, "No, no, no, it's okay, it's okay." She looked like her perfect little self, but her head took the brunt of it. There was a little blood coming from her ear, and her eyes were open. I just hope it was instant, that she wouldn't have known this was going to be the outcome. I collapsed to the ground with her, just wailing and crying and telling her I loved her and kissing her little head. My beautiful kitten. My love, I left the window open. I brought her here. How has this happened? I thought she was so safe here. I brought her here to be safe. My husband held me in disbelief. He was so upset and angry. That time honestly feels like an out-of-body experience. The shock of it was just so surreal. The next few hours, I held her and sat with her inside. I talked to her, telling her how much I loved her. I walked around the garden with her to our viewing spots, where she would look out with us. When we would look out at the view, we used to say to her, "Everything that light touches is yours, kitten." It was all supposed to be hers to explore. My husband tried to keep busy after a while, but when he took her into his arms again, he just lost it. I still can't believe the stark contrast of how that day started and how it ended, with us burying our lovely Nala in the garden. I was inconsolable and couldn't stop crying. I struggled to sleep that week and woke up in a panic a few of the nights. I really struggled to function for the week that followed. I have been able to function again, but it has barely left my mind. I cannot describe how much I miss her. Her little squeaky meow, her zoomies in the garden, her morning cuddles. Every morning I would have a yogurt and she would lick the bit that was on the lid. It was our little morning routine. She would always come running for it. I miss her running up the garden with me. She would talk back to us. She would follow me into the bathroom when I would go for a shower, or she'd be waiting outside the door. I forgot to mention how my husband found out that day. He heard someone up at the gate. He walked up and saw a man who said, "Do you own a cat?" He said, "I do." And the man said, "There's a cat here that's just been hit by a car. I think it might be yours." He said as he walked up the drive, he was saying in his head, "Please don't be my cat. Please don't be my cat." He got to the top of the gate and looked out. It was Nala. She was lying on the far side of the road, just a tiny bit up from the gate, so close to home. The man said it wasn't them, but the car in front of them, and they kept driving. It's a straight part of road, and you can hear cars coming quite clearly from far away. I just can't understand how and why it happened. I feel it has tainted our new home in some way. We had been saying it was meant to be, but now it just feels wrong to me saying that when this is what happened to Nala. This place was meant to be our safe place and our sanctuary. Why did this have to happen? I can't look at videos or photos of her without breaking down in tears. My husband can't look at them either. It's just so tough, but I also hate that I feel so much pain now when I look at them. I used to get so much joy from them. She was so pure and innocent, and she deserved a long life. She always stayed very small in size. She was just so cute. It makes me so angry thinking of how often this must happen to so many beautiful animals. I'm in Ireland, and cats still mostly go outdoors. I understand catios for sick or cats with permanent injuries, but it's so sad to me thinking of keeping an adventurous cat indoors because of dangers that people have created for them. We are also very outdoorsy and love to have windows and doors open, particularly on nice days. So I don't think we would ever be suitable to have an indoor-only cat. My husband has said that we will have another cat in the future. I just can't imagine it. I always thought we would have more cats, but that was before this happened. What if it happens again? It would be my fault if I brought another cat to the same ending. Maybe it's not safe here. There's a stray cat that comes down our drive and through our garden regularly since we moved here. He's definitely older than Nala was. I also have seen that other neighbors have cats, so I thought it was safe. I've since learned that some have lost cats on the road in the past. Maybe I was just naive. I wish I had done more to keep her from going in that direction. My husband says it's not my or our fault, but I can't help but feel that I should have done more. It breaks my heart to think of never having a cat again, but I also feel like I would be betraying her somehow. I know you'll say that's not the case. The what ifs pop into my head along with the visual of when I turned around and saw her in my husband's arms. I don't think that will ever leave me. A lot of the stories are of cats who have lived long lives, so I can't help but feel a little alone in this. I feel like she was robbed of her life when she had so much more left to live. A distant friend lost one of her cats on the road, and she lives in a residential area similar to where we had been living before. My beautiful Westie is 17, so I have been living with anticipatory grief for a couple of years now. She's on doggy dementia medication. I'm cherishing every moment with her and holding her close. I always worried about when I would lose her, but I had the comfort of knowing I would have Nala to help me through. I never thought I would lose her first. I just can't believe it. We still think we see and hear her sometimes. Our hearts and minds are looking for her. Thank you so much for your time and for reading this. I haven't put it together very well, so I apologize. It still feels very raw, and I miss her so much. I've attached some pictures of her. She attached a whole bunch of beautiful pictures.
They're beautiful. Nala's beautiful.
And this is from Rachel.
Yes. Well, this will resonate with a lot of people. The intense grief and disbelief and anger and sadness and especially guilt just that comes with something like this happens. That was an accident.
Yeah, and there's always this debate about cats being inside all the time, and some of them just, they won't tolerate it. My cat, when I received her, they'd been keeping her inside, and she had torn all the fur off her abdomen and all the fur off of her tail. She was raw. She just couldn't stay inside, and now she has indoor-outdoor availability. She likes to stay in my office. She's here right now behind me.
That's me.
But she also loves to go outside and patrol, and she can't climb over the fence, but I've had other cats who have.
Yeah,
They have in fact not stayed here very long. And I think they may have I know one got hit by a car, and I assume one of them was probably taken by a coyote,
Right.
but I'm not sure about his fate.
And that's what's hard, right? Because you don't want them not to be who they truly are.
Yeah.
However, there are situations where they may not live as long as they could because of various things, right?
Yeah.
And that's I mean, Nala was their girl,
Hmm.
and of course, all these things that we hear from all of the beautiful stories that we get. I mean, the last thought, visuals. She said when her husband comes and had Nala in his arms. The kind of guilt. Why did we even move here? And she had not been in that house long.
Right. Right.
Rachel had said we'd only been there a few weeks, right? I believe. And so, was that the guilt of leaving the window open, right? Or whatever it
Right.
might be.
Which
And
she
that's
probably had
hard.
done
Many times
routinely,
before. Yeah,
and
she
there was
said she
no
had. Hmm.
and there was no problem.
Right.
We look for things that we could have done to be in control,
Hmm.
and it's always a futile task because we just don't have that measure of control over this kind of.
No,
We don't have measure of control over fate. We just
no, we're
don't.
not at all. And all of the feelings she's going through are so incredibly normal, but
Yep.
they're painful and they're
Oh, it's terrible.
challenging, and it takes such a long time. Um, I love how she explained her, though. All of these are the good memories. These are the
Yep.
wonderful memories in the beginning of how she cuddled and the type of cat she was and her curiosity and all of these wonderful attributes that Nala had that they will always remember, right?
Yep. Yep. She
Um,
was a gift to them, and they were a
mhm.
gift to her. And we
They
never
were
know how long we're gonna be able to enjoy the connection that we have. And they had a very rich connection with her.
right.
So that is very meaningful. It's very meaningful that they had such a deep connection during the time they had her. Very powerful. And that's what they'll hold on to.
It was interesting too that what she said, and I've had a few clients like this, having two animals, like Rachel does, and they were expecting, right,
Right.
their Westie,
Yeah.
and being elderly, could have very easily, died first, but Nala did, right, and there are a few clients that I have that the one that they anticipated might die was not the one. The younger one had something wrong with it and
Yeah.
died. And so that is the expectations are just really thrown off with that.
Yeah. Well, it's that
You
whole
know?
idea that people plan and fate laughs,
Hmm.
or God
Yes.
laughs, they often say. When we just don't. We do not. We're not. We don't have the levers of control. We just
No.
don't. And you never know. I mean, we've had so many people who have puppies who then get gravely ill,
Yeah.
and they're not even full grown. They're
And
still
then,
like 8 or 9 months old,
hmm
and they're
and they
having to
die.
say goodbye to them.
Hmm.
And then we have people who their animal, unbeknownst to them, eats something that then gets caught in their digestive tract, and there's that spirals, and that's the end of
Hmm.
their life. And we do the best we can. We always do the best we can, and they tried to give her a beautiful life, and they
Oh, they
did.
gave her a beautiful
They
life.
did.
Yes, they did. I have some comments in the context of cats with now the bird flu.
Oh.
Working at a vet.
Hmm.
There are colonies where the vet is very rural, and there were a few cats that came in. One had died, and the other did die of the bird flu.
Hmm.
This is a colony of cats, so they're outdoor cats,
Hmm.
but the whole colony died. So
Wow.
there's a lot of bird flu here in New Jersey. And so just as a warning or anywhere you are, if there
Hmm.
are birds around, now they haven't gone to dogs yet. I don't think that there
Hmm.
have been, and maybe somebody knows, I haven't heard of a dog dying of bird flu, but the cats eat the birds, right?
Yeah.
So especially if they're outside.
I
So,
thought the bird flu, correct me if I'm wrong, and I very well may be, I thought it was mostly or even exclusively connected to waterfowl and then intensively raised chickens, ducks, in
well,
factory
yeah,
farm conditions.
there has been bird flu there, but this is different. One of my clients is an animal control officer and saved a goose. that was in a pond and brought it in. And the goose had bird flu and died.
Goose, yeah, that's what I've heard, that it's pretty much exclusively connected to water birds, not songbirds.
So I'm not sure what birds then the cats are eating,
Yeah,
but unfortunately they're very susceptible for it.
yeah,
Or
and
anyone.
dogs will eat
Stuff. Well,
bird
that's
poop.
right. Right.
That's really
right.
the issue. I mean, I know my dogs would if they had access to it.
Yeah. I mean, I was walking Boogie the other day and I saw a bunch of geese and I'm like, oh, all right, I know where they walk around.
Yeah,
And I stayed away from that. It's just a matter of caution, right? Because the bird flu is real. And
wow, but it's really devastating to cats. You said the whole
Mhm.
colony died
Mhm.
from bird flu. Wow,
Mhm.
that's
So
that's
just
news.
as
Yeah,
a matter of public service, we
yeah,
love our animals. I mean, a lot of the cats were feral. They were captured, spayed and neutered, and then let back into the colony. But I would be more worried, excuse me, about outdoor cats.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Hmm.
you know, but Rachel's story is so heartbreaking, and yeah, of course she has some anticipatory grief of her little Westie,
Yeah,
right? I
of
mean,
course,
he's
yeah, because
17.
he's 17, which is a long life, and I'm sure that they have loved him every minute of
Of
that long life,
course.
and they're now giving him medication or giving. Is it a her? I can't remember. I
Yeah, I
think
think
it's a
it's a
she.
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 She's on doggy dementia medication.
Yeah, give her the
Hmm.
medication for dementia, which.
Oh, so sweet. But just remember, Rachel, Nala is in your hearts,
Yep.
and you and your husband's hearts and soul, and we'll be there forever. It's just hard not having them here,
Yeah,
and it's really
and
painful.
keep us posted if you'd like to on how you're doing, because
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody's thinking that you are in the throes of this, and hopefully over time it will settle in a way that is less urgently painful. It sounds like it's
mhm.
very, very painful all the
Of
time right now.
course.
Yeah,
It takes a period of time, and the guilt's a hard emotion to deal
yeah,
with because
yeah.
we who do the most usually have the most guilt.
Oh, the
So,
most conscientious pet
yeah,
guardians are often the ones who are just racked
yeah.
with guilt. So
Hmm.
we
Send
thank you
our
very
best.
much. We thank you
Hmm.
very much, Rachel. And if you find this program helpful, please do subscribe if you haven't already. Perhaps give a thumbs up, leave a brief comment. All of that triggers the algorithm to help other people find this program when they're looking for support with pet loss.
Hmm.
So Nancy, it was great as always talking with you, and
Of
we'll
course.
talk again next week.
Take care.
Bye.